Welcome back to the Polity, still reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, and I am still Mercy Babajide. And of course, before we went on the break, we gave you political updates as regards what is going on in the country right now. And now moving on to the next segment, and that's where we get to talk about debate culture in this country. And then with me in the studio is mentoring Commandant Alistair. That's the chairman of Nigerian Youth Presidential Debate. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's nice having you here, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we go fully into the debate culture in the country right now, I'd like us to talk about the state of the campaigns going on right now. What is your general overview about what is going on right now, Commandant?
Well, thank you very much. Looking into the bigger picture, we know we have 18 political parties, all of them vying to become president, governors across the country. There is no doubt that the campaign has kick-started, but to be honest, it hasn't really looked like previous year's campaign, because when you look at the billboards, you are not seeing as much information. When you're looking at watching the television, listening to the radio, you're not getting the full factor of the policy direction of most of the political parties. What you're hearing is accuse and counter-accusation propaganda by all the major political parties, accusing each other of something new or old or digging out something. But I think, again, it's very important for people to know that yesterday is not today. Today will not be the same as tomorrow. So when you look at the picture of what happened yesterday is not a representation of what's going to happen today, and what's happening today will not likely repeat itself tomorrow. So when people check something that happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I like to have it on record, for example, that there are laws and policies that were in place for a particular season. And every season has something new that is controlling the future and the development of that particular era. And what we're now seeing is we're hearing our political leaders digging something dirt about their opponents. But again, one has to go back and say, what did you do, or what was the reason why those things happened at that particular time compared to today? In the Western Europe right now, you have the war between Russia and Ukraine. Nobody will have thought that Ukraine will be attacked by Russia, or Russia will find a reason to attack Ukraine for one thing or another. Locally here or at home is the same thing that we're facing, where, as I said, these 18 political parties are all vying for the electorate vote. And right now you have more than 90 million votes in the country. Highest majority all comes from the youth that are comprising between that age of 18 to 35 or 40, as the case may be in Nigeria. So there is a long way to go, but at least what they're now doing allow people who really want to examine what each political party and each candidate offer to them to consider who they will vote for in the coming election in 2023.
Okay, I like the fact that you mentioned something about 19 million votes. I'd like to refer us back to a certain presidential candidate. I don't know who the representative was, but then the person said, and I quote, Kwankwaso has over 7 million votes already. What do you have to say generally about this?
Well, I'd be surprised because the election hasn't taken place. Okay. So how will they have 7 million votes? Does that mean that they have the PVC of 7 million voters with them, and that has already given them the assurance that they have the 7 million votes? Nobody whatsoever can classify himself to say, I have even 1 million votes when the election has not really taken place. So anybody telling you that, they just presume that maybe within a particular location, 100% of this location is going to vote for me. And it never happened. It doesn't happen. Nobody is 100% perfect. Okay. So, and in terms of the Nigerian election as well, nobody can say that. But one thing that we can take for record is that the Nigerian electorate are much more wiser than the last election. They are more intelligent, and they are more susceptible to see what you are going to offer them. And it will be a shocker in the coming election that people presume that all these people following you at your campaign rally, that they're there for you. No. One has to take into control or into aspect that some people are there just to see and witness the event, and to attend to see, oh, there's a celebrity coming to town. There is this iconic name I have been following. There's this personality for the last 30 years, 20 years, 10 years that I have been hearing, and he's coming to town. I want to be there. I might be lucky to get a t-shirt. I might be lucky to get somebody blessing me. But apart from that, maybe I just want to follow my friends to attend this event to say I was at the rally. But that is not a guarantee in the coming election that these people are actually going to vote for that party.
I like that, because even rumor has it that we have, okay, just away from political scene now, let's just make a trivial joke about it. A friend said, oh, she saw someone that had the shirts from PDP, from APC, and equally Labour Party. And of course, it means that same person attended every rally. So it proves to show your point that, oh, the fact that you have supporters does not mean these people are actually really supporting you. And now, still talking about supporters, do you think ethnic prejudice has a major role to play in the next coming election?
When you grow with criminals, you are most likely will have a tendency to be a criminal. When you grow with intelligent people, there's very high likely that you yourself will be intelligent. What am I saying is that when you see people who are around pretending to know something, your likelihood will be a pretender as well. So either based on ethnic or religious affiliation, the people that are guiding you, teaching you, mentoring you, have been teaching you and mentoring you on the aspect of follow my ethnicity. Then it will be very hard for people without being exposed and educated to do otherwise. So what I'm saying here is leadership as well dictate, either wrongly or rightly, the followers that you have. At the end of the day, if the leaders have been using the tag of religion, ethnicity, or a region, then most likely the followers, without having any exposure, will key into that until they're exposed or until they hear the stories of other people within the same geographical country called Nigeria saying, oh, actually, I'm educated. I have the pleasure of enjoying this type of lifestyle compared to what you're having. My governor created roads, not with his money, let's take that into account. He provided educational facility for us. And at the end of the day, the governor, the ministers, the president were elected to deliver what they're given. So I do not rejoice just because the governor has built road. That's the reason why you're elected, to build this road. And this road and educational that you provide, and hospitality that you're building and developing were not done by your money. The money is done, is implemented or provided by the resources of the state that belong to you and I for us. So we just basically make you the governor in order for what we presume judiciously for you to implement what we need as people. So what we pray and hope is that our leaders will be able to teach accurately on the justice, equity, peace, and unity that that community and that nation desires.
Thank you for that. And now let's move on to the debate culture. How would you rate the debate culture currently practiced in Nigeria? Do you think we are open-minded about it? And I say the word open-minded because, of course, the last one was cancelled, given that someone said, oh, if the other party wasn't going to be there, then I would back out. How would you rate this generally?
Well, let's quickly look at the democracy is by the person that has the highest vote. Yeah. So in this situation whereby, for example, a candidate out of 18 say he's not going to appear, I will recommend that the organizers should continue with the process because they still have 17 who are willing to participate. So let him drop. But again, it hasn't yet become the guiding principle for people to say, because you appear in a debate, that you are going to be, or the winner of the debate will end up in the winner of the presidential election or governorship election. No. But what it does is it allows the voters, it allows the delegate, it allows the audience, it allows the viewers to gain an insight deeper into the reaction and the characteristic of those candidates equally. Yeah. So in terms of their policy, and again, people have made a lot of promises in terms of their policy direction, and at the end of the day, they never really honor the policy direction. They never really deliver what they promises. And the onus sometimes should be back on the electorate, the voters, because then when you don't deliver what you say you will, especially at the State House of Assembly and the House of Rep, that the voters actually have a section in the Constitution that allow you to recall that person. So now we're talking about a long-term growth development of the Nigerian political system.
I like that. Do you think this equally helps them promote political accountability? Because now, at least, if you say something, if you come forward to say, oh, this is my agenda, this is what I would do when I become the president of the country, and you get there and then you do not do it, does this allow to hold, is this enough grounds, or does this allow the electorate or the presidential candidates enough to say, oh, we're holding you accountable for this?
Yes, well, without any doubt. But the funny thing is, you have other people who are much more powerful than you are as the local electorate. Yeah. That means the people at the State House of Assembly. So you have elected them for them to do the needful within the state. And then you have elected those in the National House of Assembly, the House of Rep, and the senators to represent your interests and call, for example, the president to order. And it necessarily impeach him. But that has never happened. So first and foremost, the members of the State House of Assembly has already let you down. Then the members in the House of Rep and the senators had let the people down. Now, really and truly, the people's mandate, which is their term, they have more power than those that they elected, which is the reason why now we are in the window of selling your brand as a candidate. And they are now looking for your vote, either individually or collectively or based on your community and your area. I would just pray that the electorate, they now realize that they actually have the biggest power. They have the mandate, they have the authority. If they could, for example, remove 50% of the people in the National Assembly, 50% from the people in the State House of Assembly, then they have a new breed that would not be contaminated by those who fail the people. But if you end up having, again, highest number of those that never really delivered for you, then most likely you will go back into the same situation that you are, unless you have a governor that has now come in really and sincerely for the people, and unless you elect a president that is really and sincerely for the people and following the Nigerian Constitution.
I like that. Still speaking on the electorate, how important is the presidential debate to the electorate?
It is very important, especially now we have seen organization, CSO, putting together a debate or conversation with some of the presidential candidates. We have had many of them now speaking. Some of them, they were classified speaking out of tongue. Some of them slip of tongue. Whatever it is, it allows the electorate, 90 million of us, or those who have access to watch and to listen and to follow the short trending, that this candidate, this is what he said. This candidate, this is what he said. This is the way this one is portraying himself. But the question really goes back to the electorate, we the voters, to say, does this person really represent me? It doesn't matter how much campaign of smearing or propaganda the other side is doing, it's all part of politics. At the end of the day, almost every candidate is looking for a job. They have a CV, and their CV is now, I want to be the next governor, or I want to be the next president. We are the people, we're the panel that are going through their CV to see what have they done. Out of the context that I want people to take into account as well is, don't judge all these politicians based on what they did while they were elected into office for them to do what they are doing. Seek their lifestyle before they became elected. Are they working in an organization that is non-governmental? And this is what that organization has achieved. Are they private business people? And this is what they have turned around their own business to achieve and become successful. Are they teachers? How many students? Or all that kind of thing. Check their life before becoming an elected member. Because as I said, anything they do while they were elected, they were supposed to do. And none of them, and I want to be corrected, none of them went into government and came out poorer than before he went into government, or came out at the same level as when he went into government. If there is, it will be good for the Nigerian people to know. Let's find them.
Well, we hope we find one person, just one at least. Now, speaking of the debate itself, would you like to share with the general public the date of the event, what the event is going to look like, and what people should look out for, look forward to right now?
Well, as you know, the youth in the country constitute the highest number of any demographic population in the country. And again, out of what INEC has indicated, there's more than 60 to 70% of the classified youth that have the mandate for 2023 election. So they decide, they control, and they have the capacity to decide and to control who becomes the Nigerian president, either from the north or from the south. So looking into that bigger picture, it means that the youth came together under one umbrella, NYP, and bring all the organizations together to put it together, to invite the presidential candidate. This is not the first time that the organization under the umbrella is doing this presidential debate. They have done it at state level, and now this time around with 2023, and based on all the stories that we're following, it is very, very key and important for the youth to come together, which is already been put together on 10th of December this year in Merit House, to sit down and have a conversation with this presidential candidate. We have more than 7 to 10 of the major big political parties. All of them indicated their interest. We have the digital imam, we have the bishops, we have all the CSO supporting this initiative. And it is very important for each one of them that has indicated his interest not to miss the day, not to miss the opportunity of the Nigerian youth, sharing and asking them relevant, key, important questions. And at the end of the day, likewise, that allow all the corporate voters, because you see, when you go to rally, you don't see people who work in the private sector at these rallies. They follow the news on television, on radio, and what they read in proper organized media houses. So by this platform again, it allowed them to see what the presidential candidate and what their political parties have for the Nigerian youth. Because really and truly, as a nation, we have lost more than 50% of our value, because when there's no electricity, you cannot compete with nations that have electricity 24 hours. When your youth cannot go to university, they end up losing a year and they cannot compete with similar age group around the world. Again, they are losing. So anywhere you have a challenge, if you cannot drive in a distance of 100 kilometers in 1 hour, when other nations can do that in an hour, and we have to do it in 3 hours, it means again we have lost almost 60% of the value to compete with other nations internationally. So all these things are key indices. But at the end of the day, we have youth who are capable, who are hardworking if you show them the way to do it. So our prayer really is this engagement on December 10th with this presidential candidate, for them to come and talk to the Nigerian youth, the future leaders of their great country. And these are the youth that will allow them to succeed in office, because when you empower the youth, either female or male, you're empowering the future generation of this country. And that is the reason why this debate is very important, is very key, and we thank all those presidential candidates that have already indicated their interest to participate.
All right, thank you very much for that. Still speaking on the debate itself, I'm curious. Of course, you know, we have people that are better talkers. I like to say they're better talkers. Of course, as a journalist, I should be able to sway you towards me and sweet talk you and everything. And we still have the accountability. So what happens that day if I am not a sweet talker? Because whether we like it or not, the debate is going to serve as a major factor to what is going to happen, to how the electorate will actually canvass or vote. I mean, that could actually switch someone's, if I was probably saying, oh, this is the political party I'm supporting, and then that day I get there and I realize that, oh, this person doesn't actually seem to be in the light I thought he was. So what happens? Do you think this is going to be a major force? This would affect people's perception generally?
Well, I think if people always identify who is a genuine candidate. People always identify if you're a stammerer, but your ideas are flowing. People identify if you're blind, but you are still making a presentation because you're just blind. That doesn't mean that you are not capable of doing the job. So in this aspect, yes, you might not be a wonderful talker, and not all of them actually can talk. Not all of them can even read the speech given to them. So at the end of the day, the genuinity, the characteristic of those personalities would allow the people watching and listening to know if you mean well of what you are saying. And at the end of the day, there's always the policy direction of the political party, which then again, if I key into the policy direction of your party, then hopefully I'll key into you being able to elect you as a leader. But again, if you now look across most of the political party, you have 19 states, maybe 16 states, in the same party. When you go across all this party, they do not have the same policy direction of what the party stands for. So for example, Party A, they have their constitution, they have their rules and regulations, they have their policy. But when you go to all the states that they control, you find that every state again now have a different policy idea, a different policy direction, which then doesn't really mean that they are under one party. They just use that party to get into office.
I like that. Okay, now still on the debate culture, do you think there should be specific government bodies responsible for the conduct of debate culture in Nigeria?
Well, because most of government institutions and bodies right now, they compromise.
Okay.
And so, again, people will be afraid of saying now, this is the government that is organizing this, though there's nothing really magical about putting the debates together. But at least it will always be good to know that they are totally independent. Even the INEC now is independent. We still have the query of, you read earlier that people are talking about resignation or no resignation of the chairman. So it is good to maybe with a collaboration, just to make sure that people key into it. But I think it should still be a CSO or non-governmental organization that put it together for the benefit of the Nigerian people.
Yeah, all right, that's nice. Now, keeping the electorate informed is a major factor for debates, of course. And what are the impacts of a presidential debates and voters' rationality?
I think at the end of the day, you have 90 million people.
Okay.
The last election has just about 30 million people that voted in 2019, roughly around that window, 15, 12, about 30. Then what you happen is then you end up having, because last election you have more than 80 million people who were registered. So there are more people who refused to vote in 2019 than those who voted for people in office. In 2023, you will end up having as many more people who have registered to vote more than 2019. So the bigger picture and hope is that you will have as many as 50 million people, which so out of the 50 million that didn't vote, maybe 50% will turn up. Out of the new, maybe 10 point something or 14 million so-called people that are now registered, maybe you have 8 million people that voted, that will vote. Yeah. So at the end of the day now, you end up having more than 50 million people that are going to vote. Now the question is, where are they going to be swayed into? What direction? Even date since 1999 till date, a child that was born in 1999 to date is more than, he's of the age of being able to vote. And they have experienced hardship. Then our prayer is for them to change the narrative. And if they experience joy and happiness, then our prayer still is for them to maintain that level. But the majority of the people need to look at all the 18 political parties and all the 18 presidential candidates, who some of them just want a political party for them to achieve their desire and dream. And the bigger picture as well is, it's not harmful for anybody to aspire to be a governor, to be a president. All of us in life have a desire. You probably, when you're growing up, said you want to be a newscaster because you want to expose bad things happening in government, or because you just want to be in front of the screen. And then I cannot blame you for not becoming a broadcaster in front of the screen. So if somebody said, oh, I want to become the Pele of football world, and I have been playing this, my aim is to be the best football player in the world, then please don't judge him now saying, I need to be the captain. Because his aim, just like you in your own life right now, you want to be the best doctor. It's not a crime. But the point is now is the electorate who then decide, especially this is politics and democracy, if indeed you can become the captain of the team. So I believe that everybody has a dream, and I want to give everybody the chance of their dream. And likewise, I have my own dream, and I do not want you to deny me my right to achieve what I want to achieve in life.
That's nice. I like the fact that you mentioned changing the narrative. Would you like to speak to the electorate on how they should actually be able to change the narrative? Because, of course, people now say, oh, your vote does not count, or even if you have this, they always have a way. But then with the beavers that you've introduced now, I believe that's a powerful thing to do. And given that, oh, this was successful in 2 different states. So what do you think the electorate should be looking up to? How do they change the narratives generally?
Well, I guess if you don't participate in trying to change a story, you cannot say you know what the outcome is just because the outcome has been given to you. Your own participation is not part of the result. So the first point is in the coming elections to make sure that you have your PVC. You study the political parties. You study the situation that you are as of today. How did you get to where you are? Is it the political party that led you to where you are? Are you happy with your position? If you are, please vote for the same party. If you're not happy with your position, that you think you can achieve more things in life, please look out for the alternative party. Fact of the matter is, you can see there have been only 2 parties that have ruled since 1999, but the players within these 2 political parties have been jumping from A to B, B to A to B. They have been remolding, rebuilding, refiguring themselves all within these 2 political parties. But by extension now, at least we know there are all the 16 political parties that make the new number that we have of 18 political parties. So it is down to the electorate really, and they have the upper hand in deciding who goes into office in 2023.
Well, thank you very much for that. That is where we come to the end of Debate Culture.
Thank you.
It was really nice having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to having you some other time. Well, now to the electorate. You've heard from the commandants. Change the narrative. Your participation matters. And that's all where we give to the end of this segment. Stay on the Polity. We will be right back.